Welcome to Author Nation Interviews. Today, we are diving into writing routines, habits, where we're going to explore internal motivators, external motivators, and you're going to find there's a new or a different way to say that, lifestyle, and more to elevate your nonfiction writing journey. I'm your host, Melody Ann, and I'm here to guide you toward actionable insights and strategies that will help you not only write with purpose, but also connect with your readers on a deeper level. Because at Author Nation, we're committed to equipping you with the knowledge, the inspiration, and the community you need to succeed as a nonfiction author. So visit authornation.online to access a treasure trove of resources, no matter what stage of the writing process you are in. So whether you're sipping your morning coffee or winding down after a long day, settle in as we explore how building habits can transform your writing and your ability to share your story with the world. But before we dive in, let me introduce our guest. Ronnie Loiza is a master certified personal life coach, certified habits coach, and a certified personal trainer. I love that combination. She helps people create easy, doable habits that get them to their goals, like writing, without more kind of to-do list hacks and discipline and willpower and forcing yourself. She shows you how to run on innate momentum by developing your habits, because habits are second nature and not forced. The same is true for your habitual way of thinking or your default programming. Her process is a form of reprogramming yourself with tiny progressive habits so that your behavior towards your goals become your identity, part of who you are. Along with coaching, Ronnie loves dancing, me too, music, strength training herself and others, because she's a certified personal trainer as well, traveling, and she loves cuddling. So do I. She loves cuddling with her husband, her pillows, her cats. And so maybe don't get too close if you're not a cuddler. I'm just kidding. All right, let's welcome Ronnie. Hi, Ronnie. How are you today?
Oh, that made me laugh, but that is me.
I I love that you are a master certified professional life coach, habit coach, and personal trainer. Can you share a little bit about the journey and how those three intersect?
Yeah, well, actually, I was into public relations, and before then, I was a news reporter anchor. So I've had a lot of life transitions and career growth, and I fold that into my coaching now. It's not just the training and education you get. As you get older, you get wiser. You know that it's okay to let your life experience guide you as well, not to insert yourself into them, but into yourself as you're coaching. I have a lot of life experience, so I can relate to my clients. But I became a personal trainer at the ripe old age of 46 because of health issues. My back hurt. I won't go through the whole story, but after five chiropractors, acupuncture, which I wished would work, two Western medical doctors who wanted to fuse my back, all of this, decompression, I just about gave up. Well, finally, somebody put me with a corrective exercise personal trainer. My insurance paid for it. Within 2 weeks, Melody, my back didn't hurt anymore. I learned how to work out properly for my age. I had degenerative disc disease, which meant the fluid between my vertebrae, especially my lower two L's, was just drying up. It happens because we're getting older. I did not need to fuse my vertebrae. Anyway, a year of training with her, I was always asking her questions. And she said, "You need to be a personal trainer. You need to be a personal trainer." I was not athletic. Last one pick a dodgeball, whatever it was. She's like, "Yeah, but you are strength training. You're taking care of your health. You're getting older. Who do you think people like you and older will relate to? And who will you relate to?" About a year later, I thought, I think I'll become a personal trainer. So that really got me on that journey. And I didn't know then, but I started to find out later in life, looking back, that's really when I started people on their mindset and habits, because 90% of taking care of yourself is your mindset. And I'm sure it's the same with writing. It starts with your mindset. And I'm far from woo woo. I'm a pragmatic wooist. if you want to call it that. I'm very pragmatic. But back
Yeah.
then, I wanted to help people be as fit as that person could be, only as fit as you can be. And it all had to start with their mindset. I mean, anybody can throw a workout plan at you or the right diet at you, but if you're not going to do it because you're not in the right frame of mind, that's why diets fail. The diet works. Every diet in the world works if you do it. What fails is that it's not your habit, it's not what you've been doing, and it's not who you are. That's a long story short. But then I become a life coach, and then I become a habit coach.
That is so cool. So let's talk about creating habits for writing. So a
Yeah.
lot of people, they want to write daily. So can you walk us through how a writer can establish a habit that just kind of seamlessly integrates into their life, into their day?
Well, you have to slow down, and I know that people are gonna cringe at that, like, "What? I'm not going fast enough." And you have to start with the tiniest, tiniest little step. First of all, you need to decide what tiny, realistic, doable action can I start now that will form into a habit. Habits are systematic. They're systemized. It's just that they happen so rapid fire in your brain, you don't think about it. They happen in your subconscious. You weren't born with all your habits. You were programmed and you programmed yourself. So, as a coach, I take them through what realistic actions could you do? And then we rank them. We literally rank them 1 to 10. And people always want to start big. Like they want to start with 4 steps or 3 steps or, whatever it is. And they have all these little miniature goals. It's like, let's whittle it down. One action. It's not even a habit yet because habits form out of repetition, repetition at the same time in the same context. Context meaning either the same cubicle, the same office, or in the same area, the same space with the same people. It's whatever your environment is. Same time, same environment. And then we pick an activator, what you called, and I love it, the motivator. We have internal motivators and external motivators. And in the habit coaching world, we've changed that to activator because everything you do, every behavior, we call them behaviors, every little action you have is a behavior. So what you have an activator, something comes before it. It's all a domino effect. It's just that you don't think about it when it's a habit. And those habits grow into one big clump of routine. So stop me when you have to, but if you think of the motivator instead of as think of it as an activator. What activates that action? And
Yeah.
then repeat. And that's what I help people with. One tiny little action. So for a writer, everybody hears the same thing. What makes a writer? What does a writer do? They write. Okay, I want to write daily. Fine. Now let's start tiny little actions that get you to do it at the same time in the same context. Just one little thing. Don't worry about if it's for an hour or all this stuff. Just do the minimum that you will realistically do when you don't feel like it. Pick the lowest when you really don't feel up to it. Maybe it's just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Most of my people, and I've had writers work with me, they think 5 minutes, that's nothing. It's like, it's not the amount of time, it's that you do it at the same time in the same context.
Yes.
And they always go beyond 5 minutes, and that's what great. But if they don't, they still accomplish that action.
Yeah, I love that you've said that because a lot of times when I have someone new in our community and we do regular writing sessions, which is that people love, but often a new person will come in and somebody who's been around for a while mentions, "Oh yeah, I just I wrote 2,000 words," and they're like, "I should be writing 2,000 words." It's like, no, write 100. If you write 100, you've done really well. Write for 5 minutes. Write 3 words. It doesn't matter. Just sit down for 5 minutes and write, or just sit down and write 100 words, because that's where it starts. You don't write 2,000 words at a sitting from the very beginning and go on forever and ever and do that. That's so unrealistic. So I'm so glad you said that. Thank you. So let's talk about internal activators, right? So how can an author discover their own activator and then harness that to build up the routine they want?
Well, first start at the very fundamentals.
Yeah.
The internal ones are things that are literally internal. You have your physical. Are you sleepy? Are you rested? Are you invigorated? Are you energetic? empathetic? Did you get enough sleep? Do you do your self-care? Do you do whatever helps you as far as your mindset rituals? If you have any rituals, you don't have to. You have to discover what works for you. Affirmations or a half-hour meditation may work for some, but not for others. I've gone through people who just do 1 minute EFT because they have this thing about time. Okay, they found they can do EFT for a minute, or they can just run around the block for 30 seconds, whatever it is, whatever you find is good for me. So you have to look at the internal. Are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Don't use them as excuses like, oh, I gotta get up and I gotta make sure I have my coffee and my water and my this and my that. It's like, just know what you are. Really be honest with yourself. What do I need? And am I rested enough? Am I, have I eaten well? Am I taking care of myself? Now, the external activators, those are the external ones. Sorry, those are the internal, but
Internal ones, yes, yes.
mo-
Okay, so how
mo-
do we figure out which internal motivators or internal activator will work for us? Like, how do we? There's so much going on in me, Ronnie. I can't tell you how much is happening here. How do I figure out what's going to work for me internally just before we go into the external?
Well, that's just it. And I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. But the internal is that it's the physical ones. Tap into into yourself. Really know what real hunger is. Really know when you've slept enough. Really know when you've done the self care, and also you have the emotions. You have the emotions. Most people, especially artists that I have found in my experience, they procrastinate because of their emotions, whether it's fear, despair, doubt, all of it. We go down the line because barriers are not like when the kids need you or when your boss calls or when something needs you. That's an exterior motivator, which we'll get to, the barriers. It's the insides. Why are you really procrastinating? So you have to address that. You have to see, am I afraid? Well, why am I afraid? And that takes us into all this coaching, which I go through in thought work. But it's like really answer yourself. What am I afraid of? Address all that first and ask yourself, is that the truth? Whatever you're fearing, is that the truth?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because your
yeah,
thought always provokes your emotion. Is that
yeah,
100% fact? And you can go through that like, okay, I'm afraid that I will just not have the right word or the right phrase, or that I'll edit while I'm writing, or whatever the fear is, right? And then,
yeah,
okay, I'm afraid of it, but don't just push through it. I mean, that works for some people. It's like, well, why am I afraid of that? Do I know I'm going to write the wrong phrase or that I'll have to re-edit 3,000 times?
yeah,
No. Have I done it before? Yes. And I just go ahead and do it again and not worry about it. Yes or
yeah,
no? I mean, you have to answer yourself and go through that and choose a thought that will neutralize it. Not necessarily Pollyanna with positive thoughts, but
right,
okay, I it is true that I might write something that I will hate. I might write something that I'll re-edit. I might edit while I write. Is that the truth? Yes. Okay. And that usually dispels the fear. It's like, if you do, you do. It's just a fact.
yeah.
Is it
I
gonna
like,
kill you?
yeah, I like to call them the stories we tell ourselves.
Yeah,
Right? It's
exactly.
like that's, those are all stories you're telling yourself, really, right?
And that affects your behavior because your thought spurs your emotion, which then results in a behavior,
Yeah,
procrastination or frozen mind or whatever it is. So some
yeah,
people say just start writing. Okay, but if you're afraid, maybe that's what's stopping you. Maybe not. But I'm just going through procrastination because that's the one that most people they hit the wall with. But it
yeah,
could be anything. So you have to see what are your barriers. Are they internal? Or are they external? Now, that's where we go to the external motivators, the activators. You literally set yourself up with a chain of events that will activate that action. But you
mhm,
look at, do I have any barriers? Is it going to be noisy? Do I have the right writing space? Do I have the time? Do I have people that are going to interrupt me? All of
mhm,
those things. You look at your external barriers and things that might tempt you. In the world of fitness, for example, get rid of all that junk food. But that's not all. If you have the internal fears, somehow they find a way to leave the house and go get that junk. So you have to work on the inside first, but also set yourself up for success. So, for
yeah,
example, an activator. I have a gentleman. I'm just going to use him as an example because I know it's okay. He really wanted to write this book, and it'd been a year, and he still hadn't started. So we turned his writing into brushing your teeth. I know that sounds silly, but you hook an action to something you already do instead of adding to your already busy schedule. So, what's something he already did? He got up in the morning, he said his prayer, started making coffee, and then as the coffee was brewing, he would go brush his teeth. I'm like, all right, what would, fast forward, what would really work for him is he could not brush his teeth until he looked at that post-it on his computer screen and came up with his intention for his writing that day. Sometimes it took a minute, sometimes 30 seconds, sometimes 5 minutes, but he's like, "Okay." I'm like, "Don't analyze the intention, just set it. It can change. It's okay." So every day it got faster and faster. He would set his intention, and often that intention for his writing would change. That's okay because he was writing while it changed.
Yeah,
So he wanted to brush his teeth so badly that he would say his intention, put it in on that Word doc, go brush his teeth, go get his coffee, settle in. He has written so much.
yeah, yes,
But it
yeah,
had to become a habit, and there are times where he went blank, but he would write anyway. There are times that he would re-edit. There things would happen, but he was writing, and he
yeah,
can't believe how much he's accomplished. And the thing is, it was at 8:30 every single morning without fail in the same office.
yeah. I love that. That's one of the reasons I do a community write-in every week at the same day, same time.
Mhm.
People show up. They know that's the time to write the book. I have one client who gets up, makes a coffee, reads, makes a second coffee, takes that second coffee to the desk and starts writing. And that's the habit. So thank you. I love that because I think people think external activators are a boot camp boot camp instructor, right? So your editor who's like, get writing, but it's not. It's about finding something in your life that you can build on to build up a set of habits that serve you. Am I getting that right?
Well, yeah, because when you think about it, habits are nature. You don't think about all the tiny series of habits. A meta study, not to be condescending, but just in case so we're clear, is you take different studies and research from different eras,
Yeah.
generations, or just simply years in different locations, different demographics, and you put them all together and see what the common denominators are. The meta study shows that 40 to 50% of each of our days is a series of habits.
Yeah.
That's nearly half your day from the second you wake up in the morning to the minute you go to bed at night. That doesn't mean that can't have appointments and be flexible and be adventurous. Even adventurous people have habits. Risk takers have habits, but it's those subconscious little habits that are their identity. So when you make something a habit, it actually makes you flexible because you also, as I do with my clients, set yourself up with, do I have the ability? Do I have the information? Do I have the research? Do I have the knowledge? Do I have the skill? Do I have what I need in my environment? Have I spoken to my family? Have I set up my barriers? Have I set up my boundaries? Have I set up my schedule? So you set yourself up for success. You boost your ability to do it, and then you boost the repetition. You make sure that the repetition is doable and you celebrate it. As I have all my clients start to do, and sometimes they feel silly, as they're on their way to the desk to start writing, I'm on my way. Going, going, I'm on my way, whatever it is. And at first they feel silly, but then they love it. They start saying, I'm on my way, because when you say it out loud, your brain hears it and says, noted, compute. And then when you sit down, I'm doing it. You say it out loud because your brain is like, okay, it sets it. It's your computer brain that goes noted. And then once you finish that time period, whatever that habit is becoming, you say it again, you celebrate it. Now, with me, they like to do it in Boxer. They celebrate their little win or accountability. Like that one client, he still does it to this day. He puts two little pictures, emojis of two toothbrushes. I brushed my teeth, which really means he wrote. Know what I mean? So I have people celebrate it. After a while, they just celebrate themselves. They say it out loud because that's really reprogramming your brain. So
I love
when you think about it, we are made up of a series of habits. I also have my clients do plan A and plan B. I plan on doing this, but if something happens, fill in the blank, then I'll do it then. Like if my kid's school calls, or if my boss needs something, if something happens, then I'll do it at 4 p.m. instead of 8:30 in the morning. Or if this happens, then I'll do it then. It becomes such a part of your identity to do that, to write, that you'll find a way to do it because you feel weird if you don't. Because you don't go a whole day without brushing your teeth or whatever other habit we could use.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And that kind of brings me to the question of routines versus habits, because a lot of us think we need a routine. I get up at this time, and then I do this, and then I do that, and then I do this. And what you're saying is, think about it as habits rather than a routine. So, can you just briefly explain the difference between that? Because I also really want to get into thought work. So, difference
Yeah.
between routines and habits.
Well, we can change our routines. I'll use an easy one to illustrate because there's so many in the writing or art world. I also work with artists, literally who paint and sculpt and sketch, and they want to get in the habit of not just doing their art, but also in the habit of being a business person and marketing. And that's where they come up with like, I don't know how to do this, so they have to treat it like a business. That part, but habits make up our entire block or bulk of a routine. When you think about it, I mean, we could go really slowly, but we don't have time here. Just from the time you get up to when you finally make it to the kitchen, you just went through a series of tiny habits that make up that bulk routine. So let's go to the fitness world, for example. I'm in the habit of working out every day, no matter what. I do a muscle group. Even if it's just one tiny muscle group, sometimes I work out 20 minutes, sometimes just 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. It depends where I am and what I'm doing. But I can change up that routine. I don't do the same exercises for the same muscles. I can sometimes do hits. I can sometimes do, you count 10 seconds up for contraction, 10 seconds down for the eccentric. You can change up your routine. Sometimes you just do cardio. Sometimes you do a class. Sometimes you just strength train on your own. That's changing the routine, but you're still working out. That's
Yeah,
the habit. So,
yeah,
and you do have to change your routine in order for your body to go, okay, I need variety now. After like 3 months, it needs variety or you just plateau. So that's an easy way to look at it. Or just this week, I can change up my routine in an exercise program, but I'm in the habit of doing something every day.
yeah,
Same thing with your writing, for example. Let's say you sit down and it's just a habit to sit down and start typing. And that's why with this one client, he said his intention. That intention can change as you're writing. Sometimes it can be research. Sometimes it could be reading about other writers. Sometimes it's inspiration. Sometimes it's just writing or just one thought. Sometimes it's starting from the end and working your way back. Or, oh, I just had a thought of something and they're writing in not in order. It doesn't have to be chronological.
yeah,
Whatever it is, they're working on their writing.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's the routines are just the conglomeration of tiny little habits.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I love that. And the one one of the habits that I work on with my clients, I just call showing up. Just
Hmm.
call it showing up. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're going to do research, as you say, research. I said, if you write in a coffee shop and all you do is listen to other people's conversations because it'll help you with your dialogue, you're showing up. All right, let's talk about thought work as we wrap up. What is thought work and how does it kind of fit into to kind of bettering ourselves through habits?
Well, this was my process as a life coach that I bring into any coaching, not just habit coaching. But when you think about it, we did touch upon it. Whatever reaction or behavior you have, how you react to people, how you react to being frustrated, like I just spent all this time writing this and I hate it, or whatever. However you react to something, or like you draw a blank, you have writer's block, whatever your reaction, or you're stressed or you're frustrated, that reaction or behavior is your habitual way of thinking. When you really look at how you react to things, you typically react to things the same way. In the same, you're in the habit of reacting to something in the same way. I mean, there are exceptions, of course, like, oh, I lost my cool then, and that's not like me. But look at how you normally react to things and how you normally behave. And so you look at that behavior, an emotion caused that behavior, that action or reaction or inaction. Just
Yeah,
inaction is a behavior.
yeah,
And then you think, well, how do I feel emotionally? Am I in despair? Am I angry? Am I in fear? Am I afraid? Um, what's the other one? Doubt. Doubt is an emotion, and joy. Now, under joy are sub emotions like happy, joyous,
linked
um,
to
content, peaceful, yeah, elated. So in despair, it's literally like you're living under a bridge and you have no money. That's like despair. Okay, you're desperate. Or fear. A lot of us have fear. Well, what am I afraid of? And then you start going like, let's say you're doubting yourself. We'll pick that one. Self doubt. And a lot of people say, "Well, I know I'm talented. I know I've got it in me." And they try all the inspirations and all the the affirmations, but if there's a little bit of doubt in your brain looks to prove that doubt. Even if you have normally have a lot of confidence and you say your affirmations, if you have any doubt about that affirmation, your brain really goes to prove that doubt. So you ask yourself, why do I feel this doubt? And then you know the thought you have because I've never done it before, or I've written 3 books, but now I'm running out of steam and I feel like I just have to write the same in the same formula, whatever is prompting that emotion. And then you ask yourself with a thought, is that 100% factual? And sometimes it is somewhat factual, sometimes not. So you come up with a thought that is factual for you that brings that down. Sometimes it's a very positive thought, but even if it's not completely positive, it's something that neutralizes that negative thought. But it has to be a fact. It has to be truthful to you. Because when you just say an affirmation or a positive thing and you don't really believe it, again, you're really not going to believe it and you're still doubt. So you bring that down to have I written am I capable of writing something new? How does that feel? How does that fit? Eh, yeah, okay. I am capable. Even if you don't know if you will or not, I am capable. If that fits good and it feels right to you, that's good enough. And usually that brings on relief. You
Love
know what?
that.
You neutralize it or you say something really positive, but it has to be a fact.
Yeah. I love that, Ronnie. Thank you. So, Ronnie has given us so much today. If you want to know more, you can find Ronnie at ronnielowlifecoach.com. And Ronnie has offered the Power of Habits sessions to the audience. So, Ronnie, can you just very briefly explain what people are in for if they choose to take you up on that? And then we'll be able to wrap up.
I really hope they do because this is very general how we've spoken about it and very vague. And every person comes with their own story, their own experience, and their own goals. So I would love, and I always offer in 3 because I find 3 is the magic number. You can't just have one power session. So you get together with me and we assess your behavior and your problem and your goal. Then we choose an action. And that takes time. You have to go do some homework and come back. We whittle it down to one action, and people usually pick more than one, and we see which one will you do. And we put on that white lab coat. This is an experiment. We see what's working and what's not working. Is this working? If it's not, that's fine. You're not failing when you're experimenting. You're just taking data. What feels right? Did we choose the right amount of time? Did we choose the right location? Did we choose the right schedule? We're seeing like a scientist, is this working? We're data tracking. We get together again. We see how that's working. If we need to tweak, we will. And then the third one is we see the results. How can we progress that? Is it becoming a habit? And we progress that. So we meet 3 times and you have support in between. The first one is just really in general, and we whittle it down to, okay, what is your main goal? And then you have homework. Second time we go through the whole assessment and you have your marching orders. And the third time we see the results of that. And then you know how to move forward.
Perfect. I love that. So if you're interested in that, there will be a link in the show notes. Go grab that. And because Ronnie has already given us so much, but as Ronnie said, it's very general, it's not personalized to you. And these sessions are really going to personalize it to you. Ronnie, any final words before we head off?
Yeah, we are never too old or set in our ways to be stuck in them. We are all set in our ways. Duh, we've conditioned ourselves, but you don't have to be stuck there.
Love it. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today on Author Nation Interviews. We hope that this conversation has provided you with valuable insights, practical ideas, and the inspiration to take your nonfiction journey to the next level. Remember to visit authornation.online to unlock a wealth of resources designed to support your growth as a successful nonfiction author. And we really appreciate your feedback and your support. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a comment or a review, and don't forget to share it with a fellow author who will benefit. Your participation helps us continue to delivering insights and tools that you and every other author needs to succeed. So keep writing, keep creating, and keep sharing your unique stories with the world.